Yeah. Man, forget this job, dog. Yeah. Working this graveyard shift, I hate it. 6 in the morning, I'm off, I made it. When I get home, I'ma make this clear. First thing I'ma drink is a Rainier beer. I ain't no lush, shut up.
Hello, it's Adam Morrison. When it comes to top-tier contracting, my go-to choice is McGillivray Environmental. I know a thing or two about excellence, and that's exactly what you'll find with Kip McGillivray and his team. They're not just any contractor, they're the best in Spokane and North Idaho. From start to finish, they ensure your project is completed with the highest quality results. With years of experience and expertise, they handle it all. New construction, meticulous repairs, asphalt paving for residential and commercial properties, excavation, and even environmental remediation. So why wait? Reach out to Kip McGillivray Environmental today by calling 208-556-6384 for your free estimate. Don't forget to mention my name, Adam Morrison, and experience the difference McGillivray Environmental brings to the table. Again, that's 208-556-6384, McGillivray Environmental. My number one choice for all my contracting needs.
The podcast intro song is Get Up by Jinx Universe. Listen to his music on Spotify and follow him on social media at I am Jinx Universe.
Yeah. Man, forget this job, dog. Yeah. Working this graveyard shift, I hate it. 6 in the morning, I'm off, I made it. When I get home, I'ma make this clear. First thing I'm
Welcome, Season 4, Episode 10 of The Perimeter, sponsored by McGillivray Environmental, Idaho Central Credit Union, and New Love Coffee. Today's episode is going to be an interesting one again, talking about a tough loss against a very good UConn team at Madison Square Garden. We'll go a little bit over Bucknell and Nicholls coming up, probably like 30 seconds. That's even mentioning them is about as much time I'm going to talk about them. No offense to those programs, but, we got UCLA coming up. What is it, the 28th down in Intuit. The new Clippers building should be interesting. They've actually turned out to be a pretty good team so far this year. Have won 8 straight, just beat Arizona. I think they're in the top 20, which is obviously good for us, a chance to get a resume building win. But New York City, Madison Square Garden, the Mecca, all those things. Not a great place for us in recent past. We've had some decent showings earlier, but the last time we played there, we mentioned on the last episode, Villanova lost in 2017. That was the team that won the championship. So again, it's not like we lost to a inferior club, or we go back east and play inferior clubs, but haven't played well there the last 2 times we've played. Understandably, we're playing road games that are considered neutral, but it's no different than somebody coming to the Climate Pledge. So it's not an excuse, in my opinion. I'm going to talk about first half, second half, who I liked, who I didn't like. There's some glaring issues that I think this club has to address, and it's nothing where it's man overboard, oh my God, but there's some things that we have to kind of discuss and see if there's any remedy, lineup-wise, focus-wise, maybe. And I hate using that word because these are high-level athletes. They're good players. They're all zags and all those things. But our starts in the last 2 halves, Kentucky, second half, and then the start to this game have been really, really poor. To be frank, to be nice, because we start the game against UConn, and you come out when you play at Madison Square and you play an East Coast team. Obviously, like I talked about it last episode, I played St. Joe's, and I vividly remember how loud that was coming out of the locker room, and you think you're prepared for it, but you're not. Like, it's not like when you're at Santa Clara or something where you're like, oh, it's going to be loud tonight. You know what I mean? Because you're on the road. It's kind of a little bit of a shock to the system, but I think our guys would be prepared for that. But UConn, it was 90% UConn, and we actually had a pretty good contingency of Zag fans. I will give them that. Like, there was some actual noise from our section, and so that people traveled well. but it was 18,000, I'd say, 17,000 or whatever. Something like that, UConn fans, which you understand it's a 45-minute train ride from stores or whatever where most of the people live. I kind of got that in. It's like hour and a half max, but like mostly 45 minutes an hour for people to ride a train to go to that game if they're not from New York. Yeah, which is actually kind of cool because, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure you're the same. When you go to a game, you probably have a beer or two, and it's nice not to park, and you know what I mean? Yeah. And then be like, oh God, it's like, oh, I can just get on a train and get back home. Like, it'd be pretty fun experience. So yeah, starting the game was an absolute disaster from an energy standpoint. They come out, 3 of the first 4 field goals are dunks. That's a pretty good percentage, obviously, right? First play of the game, off the tip, they run a back screen lob, no communication. I can't remember who said it, but it was Graham's guy Graham was the one that got screened. And what was kind of disappointing was the communication early was poor defensively. And what UConn does is they run a bunch of curl action that usually the first guy coming through they call it dummy action. And it means like, we're going to curl, but the second guy coming off the same pin down is who we're really looking for. You have to guard it, but they're just trying to kind of get you out of the way and make you disorganized defensively. And you have to be able to communicate through that, but the second guy coming off a pin down that's guarding the guy in the paint has to be live and understand what coverage we're in. And I think for the most part, we were trying to fight and get through and never go one man removed. And one man removed is self-explanatory, where you go underneath the screen and try to get through it that way. You can get flared and you can get, in a spot where you're closing out at a weird angle. If you can belly up or push through is the other terminology, and get your hips through and go over the top, you can take away the wide pin downs or the down screens pretty successfully. And we were late on a couple of those. And then just not being very concise with the basketball early was an issue. I think it was the 17:30 mark. So 2.5 minutes in the game, we're down 13-2. Yeah. And we have to burn a timeout. And I get you're never going to come out guns a-blazing. You're on the road. I'll give fair context to UConn and us playing them there. They played there 7 times last year. Oh, wow. So they try to get games because the Big East tournament's there. So I think they played 4 regular seasons or 3 regular seasons, and then I think Big East you have to win 4-3, whatever, the opposite. Yeah. So they played 7 times there, and they do it on purpose, which is it's brilliant. One, they have a ton of fans in that area. It's cool to go to Madison Square. And I bet you Madison Square is like, yeah, keep coming because you put a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people come to the game, right? Absolutely, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like they don't have an issue with filling the venue, but it's for college basketball. It's like, yeah, you guys fill the venue up. And then 2, like you're used to the gym, the lighting and the atmosphere. It's a little bit different. So I'll give our guys some slack on how well they started, but the 3 dunks is what I'm talking about. It's just, it was such a lackluster energy-wise deal on the defensive side. Now, if we came down and they start 8-0, but we miss, 4 jumpers and we run, but like we have some resistance defensively into the first media timeout, I wouldn't be sitting here hammering them because sometimes that happens. But again, three dunks and just having no communication on the first, back screen, and then through the pin down stuff just was a little bit frustrating. As a broadcaster and as a fan, obviously, it just, it was, you don't want to be too critical, but you're going like, man, you're at Madison Square. Like, it's a great opportunity. We just lost. Yeah, we kind of should be coming out here with our hair on fire. And like, this is a cool opportunity for a lot of you guys. I hate to say it, but not everybody makes it to the pros. So this is like the only chance you're ever going to get to play in this building, all that stuff. And it was just super flat. I mean, they had to go 2 substitutions right away after that first timeout. I think think Stromer for Hickman. Was that true? And then it was obviously Braden Huff for Graham Ike. So if it wasn't for Caleb Battle after that timeout, it was 13-2. Okay. He comes and makes a curl layup, tough finish, and then he makes a three, so he goes on a little 5-0 run, 13-7. We get back into the game. That game could have got out of hand right away.
Right.
And it was like a, one of those sigh of reliefs, like, whew, somebody, made a play, made a tough finish, and got something going. Against a UConn team like that, and again, try not to be too critical, but I think the listeners want to know my thoughts, and I'm going to give them anyway. And I'm never too critical to a point where it's like a hot take or whatever. We're just saying shit to say it.
Yeah.
But like against a UConn team like that, we talked about it last episode. They fan out on all your ball screen action. What I mean by that is they take away the first pass on the strong side. They take away kind of any perimeter help they're not doing. They're just going to deny off the ball screen. So they're basically telling you we're playing 2-on-2, and the tag guy is going to be the low guy guarding the corner guy at the rim. That's where the tags come. The tag's not coming from the strong side, closest guy, which sometimes it is. We're not giving you come off screen, you help for no reason, and we spray it out and you get a wide open step in three. Like we're just taking it away. Mm-hmm. And so why I'm saying this is you have to be able to come off screens, hit the short roll, hit the swivels with your post diving, or your guards have to come off and sometimes make a 14-footer with a hand. And, with a guy getting clipped, you got to go make like a jump shot, or you got to make something with a big coming over. But you're playing 2-on-2 is what I'm trying to say. And so Caleb Battle doing that early was kind of how the game was going to go. And our guys kind of understood that, and our aggressiveness early was just really frustrating. Now, to our credit, after that, 13-2 run, they're dunking, they're, firing up the fans, cussing at us, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. We did climb back into the basketball game, and that was a great sign, but we had to make, the substitutions earlier, and the rotations were a little bit off kilter than what they were throughout the season. Mm-hmm. Now, with depth, you have that right to do, and it's not a complete cluster when you do it. But, we'd like it, our second lead guard to be in the game, and he just looked flat. And then, Graham Ike looked a little out of sorts early, so you have to go to your bench early. So then those guys who just subbed out are not, obviously not in a rhythm, and you need Nolan Hickman to be in a rhythm because he's a terrific shooter, he's a good player. Same with Graham Ike, he's a rhythm player. So my point is just not having not focus, but just like the energy early really kind of put us against the eight ball, not just from a scoring standpoint, like 13-2 from, all right, now these guys got to check in early. Let's bail them out. But then if we put you guys back in, you've only played 2.5 minutes, and we have to put you back in because you're part of our club and you're good.
Right.
But now you're completely out of rhythm. It's like starting the game over completely cold again, right? So that part was really, really disappointing, to be honest, just because as a crew, we weren't, in the right mindset. Now, if you break down the numbers in the first half, we weren't terrible offensively, right? We go 14-26.
The Perimeter will be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Sound good? Thank you. Yes.
Now, if you break down the numbers in the first half, we weren't terrible offensively, right? We go 14-26 for 53%, 4 of 8 from 3. Obviously, that's 50. So you're like, hey, we've climbed back in this game. Ryan Nemhard had another terrific game. great first half. I'm going to first half stats now. He has 10 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds, plays all 20 minutes, 4-7 from the field. Terrific. Mike Ajayi, I got to give credit, was absolutely tremendous, especially in that first half, and then totality during the whole game. He has 7 points, 3 of 3, had energy. Remember, I talked about that last episode. It's like, just fly around, man. The stuff will go your way. Excuse me. If you have energy, it's basketball karma. It really is. And he had that, and it was a good spark for us because we needed guys to, you kind of have to against that team. Like I said, some of your actions are not going to work. They're telling you, I'm taking away your DHOs or whatever, or your strong side coming off screen 3. I'm taking it away. So somebody might have to push somebody in the back to get a rebound, and that's what you're going to have to do. You know what I mean? See how tough you are.
Right.
He was terrific. Caleb Battle, I mentioned him. He kept us in the basketball game, especially in the first half. 4 of 6, 3 of 4 from downtown. 11 points. Played 18 minutes. Braden was solid. 2 of 4. 4 points, and then Ben Gregg has 5, makes a 3, and makes a couple free throws. So overall, like, our half wasn't terrible, and we climbed back in the basketball game and go down 43-40. So I will give our guys credit. The start was bad. You climbed into the basketball game, but I'm going to talk about the second half here in a second. But we ended up losing by 6. So if you do the math, we outplayed them for 38 minutes and outscored them for 38 by 5.
Right.
The rest of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's easy to Monday morning quarterback sometimes, but you can't have a start like that energy wise. And that's just the reality of it. And our guys are focused, and our staff scouts are great. All those things. This is not like an issue of not caring, but man, like, I'm sitting there going, people have listened to this podcast for, either now or the last 4 years. I never sit here and be like, oh, I had 28 a night. You guys you can't play. My critique is always like smarts and how focused and how hard you're playing. Yeah. They really are. You know what I mean? Maybe some skill set stuff a little bit. But I'm never going to be like, well, when I played there, I would have just grabbed the ball. But like 3 dunks in the first 4, you know what I'm saying? And like a ravaging crowd, like, they're assholes out there, man, like, in a good way. Like, but their crowd is like brutal. And it just added fuel to the fire. And they're a team that like thrives on getting pumped up and things of that nature. So if we have a better start, it just makes me wonder what the game looks like in totality. But again, it was a good sign that our guys came back and climbed back into the basketball game, because it showed that, bad start, let's keep sawing wood and do the right things. But again, it was Ajayi and Caleb Battle who kind of just made plays themselves, and Nemhard. He's been doing it all year. He's gonna continue to do that. Ball's in his hand, and he's terrific. But in a game like that, you gotta have like some intestinal fortitude to make those type of plays and decisions. So, after the first half ended, I was, sitting there on the broadcast, like, we're in this game, but it doesn't feel like, we're in a good rhythm, but also, you're not going to score 100 points against UConn. And also, like, our 2 of our best players out on the, from a scoring standpoint, Nolan Hickman and Graham Ike, Ike had 1 point in the first half, and Hickman had 0 for 2, 8 minutes played. Ike played 8 minutes, so they barely play. But like I said, they had to get subbed. And part of the reason, they got subbed it's not just production wise, it's energy wise. And then it's smarts. And I know people hammer Hickman sometimes, and sometimes I think it's unfair, but like, I have to be fair. Like, when Fewy subbed him out, he fouled a 3-point shooter. Like, remember that? The ball kid, that's a good player. They're lefty. He's the 3-point shooter. He fouls him on a jump shot that he missed. And it's like, shoot, man, you can't, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just, it's hard to let those mistakes go by the wayside early in the game. Now, if you're playing your tail off in the second half, you get clipped and you try to close out and it happens, like, you don't lose your mind.
Right.
But to start the game, that's where I think Fewey went early to the bench. Nolan's been terrific all year. He's going to continue to be terrific. It was just a bad first half for him. It just wasn't, I don't know if he was under the weather or whatever. It just wasn't a good first half. But my point is, again, having your two of your best scorers, they're completely out of rhythm.
Yeah.
No question. Because it's basically like you warmed up, you went out there for 6 possessions, and now you got to sit. And it's just unfortunate. It's like you're just going out and committing 2 personal fouls like right away. It's the same difference.
Yeah.
So we get in the second half, and our guys, I thought, were way more focused coming out in the second half than obviously the first. This is a team that, you know, lives on, you know, playing hard, and we're going to, you know, try to punk you. Like, we didn't have that look on our face that we were going to get punked and stuff like that after the first segment, the 13-2. So that was pleasing to see. I don't think our guys are soft by any standard, but like UConn lives off of that, and they're trying to see how tough are you really. And I thought we matched all of their energy and physicality. I mean, if you look at the total rebound stats, we only lose by 1, 35-34. You know, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the physicality point was terrific. We just kept staying in the basketball game, continued to make plays, but we could just never get quite over the hump when we made, you know, tough threes or tough inside presence baskets. They would always have a weird play. They had some weird, I mean, the Diarra kid, I think it was the first half, throws in that horse shit at the end of the shot clock. Remember that? And that was like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, what the heck? Pretty good defense. And then, you know, McNeely had some weird ones. He's a good player. I'm not taking away from him. McDonald's All-American, but he had some ones you're like, Christ, man. Like, you really, you know what I mean? Like, okay. Same hometown as Drew Timmy, too, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Whatever Springs, Texas, or whatever he's from.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, maybe we could have got him. Maybe I thought we were in the running for him. Anyway, so yeah, our second half was much better. I thought defensively we were solid. Both teams, though, it was kind of turned into a slugfest. Like I mentioned, both teams shot 53% in the first. Both teams in the second go 35. We go 35, 11, 31. They go 12 of 31, 38. So it got a little bit physicality. Shot making wasn't there, and kind of got a little bit slowed down a little bit on, you know, just the pace of play. Overall, Caleb Battle was terrific. Goes 6 for 12, 4 or 6 from downtown, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. First free throw he's missed all season.
Yeah.
So he's like 32 of 31 or 31 of 32. He has 21 points, probably his best game overall as a Zag. Didn't know he was from New Jersey, so I thought him having that type of game is cool. Got some scattered cheers when they announced the, you know, from New Jersey. It was like, oh, yeah, cool. The people recognize it. Apparently had a ton of friends and family there, so happy for him. Like I said, he was toughness and going to get, you know, buckets and stuff like that in a game that you have to have. Ajayi, probably his best game as a Zag, 6 assists, or 6 of 6, 6 rebounds, 14 points, had terrific energy. He has that ability. He needs to just fly around like that. It's not just from the 6 of 6, but he was just tipping balls and out there defensively making the right reads and things of that nature. So I thought he had a great bounce back game. Nemhard was solid in the second half, goes 16 points, 7 rebounds, 6 of 15, 1 of 4 from downtown. So not a great shooting performance, but overall was a solid again as he's been all season. Braden Huff played solid, 4 of 10, 8 points, 6 rebounds. Ben Gray gives us 5. Dusty Stromer didn't have a good game, plays almost 30 minutes, goes 1 for 5, 0 for 3 from downtown. Gives us 5 rebounds, but only 4 points. We go 6 of 16 from 3, 37%, which is not bad. Here's the stat that it kind of kills you at the end is they go 5 of 24 from 3, and they're a really good three-point shooting team. Ball is terrific. Caravan's terrific. McNeely, I think percentage-wise, is like comparable. And we get a 5 of 24 out of them. We can't take advantage of it, which was terrible. We get Caravan, who goes 0 for 7 from 3, and we don't take advantage of it from a winning standpoint. So we had chances to get back in that basketball game. I thought the after timeout full court, when they threw it up the right sideline, and the fake or the DHO with Braden, and then Nemhard, and he smokes the layup.
Yeah.
Felt bad. That was such a beautiful call. It's a play that I was like, oh, I'm stealing that.
Yeah.
Super good play because you had Braden with it. You could fake the handoff. He could drive left against foul pressure. That was the read. Or you give it to your fastest guy and he turns the corner. And God bless Ryan Nemhard. He's been terrific. Got to use backboard on that. That's why you don't finger roll it. I mean, your coaches tell you that your whole life. You're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. It can get on the rim sometimes and just do weird stuff. He's made probably 10,000 of those, and 950 or 50 of them have rolled off in his life, and that's one of 50. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy, but you just got to lay it up off the backboard. And then we get, I think it's 75-70, or we're down 5, whatever the score, and we get it to Braden. And again, teams are in the bonus, and from our angle, it looked like a foul, and they had us middle deck, like the hockey, where you call the hockey for the hockey. That's where the radio is. So I had great vantage. Yeah, just farther away than normal. And apparently on the television broadcast, people said like he got like wrapped and like hammered, like no question. Holy shit! So that was a missed call. If we get that, he probably makes 2 free throws. We get to a 3-point game, and then we get a chance to. Play without fouling in the shot clock. Right. And so it was interesting. If that goes our way, then we don't have to foul and what have you. So, for the most part, the second half, our guys played hard. They battled rebounding wise, took care of the basketball for the most part, only 10 turnovers, just not a ton. 15 and 19 from the free throw line. They go 18 and 21, so only +3 on that side. I mentioned the rebound, didn't shoot it well overall. Both teams didn't, though. We go 25 of 57. They go 27 of 59, so 43 and 45 respectively. But the 5 of 24 is a big number from 3 that we get them, and just didn't take advantage of it. There's some plays, that stick out that were not good. I was talking about Nolan earlier. He didn't play much in the second half as well. He gives us, he plays 12 minutes, doesn't score. There was a rebound box out that he was late on that Diarra stepped in front of him. I don't know if people remember that one. He gets it, gets a foul and one. Like, we play perfect defense. You got to get that rebound. Yeah. Graham really struggled, 1 for 3, only had 3 points, 0 rebounds, played just under 12 minutes. Just didn't have the energy. Played terrible against them last year. I don't know what it is. They maybe have a good scout on him or whatever, but it wasn't good against them and Climate Pledge, which is unfortunate. But he'll continue to have a great season, and Nolan will too. It's just a game, I think, energy wise, that they'll want to have back when you look back at the season and things of that nature. So we'll have a bounce back opportunity, but this one was a tough one because I thought personnel wise, we matched up really well with them. Obviously playing them last 2 years, familiarity. And then I think our guys were prepared for the physicality and the style of perimeter defense. I talk about the fanning out that they were going to play and kind of top-siding all your DHO and zoom cuts. It was the start. Yeah. 13-2. And I mentioned the 38 minutes beyond that, we outscore them by 5. Right.
I guess it's just kind of the way basketball goes sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's you got to be ready to play. And again, it's not trying to be overcritical, but it just looked flat energy-wise. And it's not even like a shot-making thing, or it's just like, man, you got to be ready to go. And 3 out of the first 4 field goals can be dunks. And especially a team like that, and especially on the road where you're probably not going to get a good whistle. You're going to get fans and, everything. And so it was hard to watch that opening. And I thought we were going to get blown out, to be honest, after that opening. But like I said, kudos to our guys. There's always silver linings, and I try to talk about them too, is battle on the glass and climb back in the game, and we outscore them the rest of those 38 minutes by 5, right? So we didn't play terrible. It's just hard when you come out flat and they make you pay like that to get dug out of a hole. So there'll be some bounce back opportunities for some guys to have better games. We got Nicholls and Bucknell coming up. I don't care about those games. I mean, they're decent games. Let's see what Nicholls is 242 in the Ken Palm. They lost to McNeese State last year in the conference championship, so they're not like terrible, but just not a team of note. But we play a lot of those type of games in conference. But the reason why I'm not diving into it, I'm not gonna bore people's time with who their senior guard is or whatever. It is what it is. And then Bucknell on Saturday has had a pretty good run for a little bit in the Patriot League. Ken Palm 260, so they'll be solid. But I think we need to do kind of a report card of the last after 10 games, 7-3, obviously.
Yeah.
2 of them are overtime losses. There's some good wins in there. Baylor, I think, is going to be a great win, even though they've lost to UConn. But they played them in stores. I think Arizona State can be a good win. San Diego State, I'm still on the jury's out because they just lost. They've lost a couple, but they're normally pretty good in the Mountain West. So that's one where you're like, okay, hopefully they continue to play. I hope the same for Indiana. I just don't think they're a very good basketball club. So I don't know if that win's really going to do anything for us. And then Davidson, theoretically, is usually pretty good in their conference, but it's not like they're not going to be probably a top 120 Ken Palm team or whatever. So I don't know how much that moves the needle or quad 2 win or quad 3 win or whatever,
Currently 115 in the Ken Palm.
Okay, so maybe they'll turn into a quad 2 win, which quad 2s count. They're not bad. They actually count towards your seating adjustment and stuff like that. So I think overall, we've played well. There's the Kentucky game obviously was one we'd want back, and the West Virginia one for sure. Just because the West Virginia one, obviously we had a 5-point lead with 25 seconds, had some weird situations there. And then the UConn, as I just discussed, but the Kentucky second half just didn't play to up to our standards and got, caught up and chased down. So, overall, we have 5 guys averaging double figures, almost 6 with Ben with the 9.5. Caleb Battles now our leading scorer, averaging 14.5. Graham EK, same, 14 and 14.1. Braden Huff, almost 12. Nemhard, 11.4, but, 10.3 assists a game, which is terrific.
Yeah.
Which is leading the country. Nolan Hickman at 11.4. 10.1, and then I mentioned Ben Gregg at 9.5. So overall, having guys having good statistical seasons. A little bit down on the field goal percentage. We're at 48.5. Normally we like to hover above 50. Everybody does, but we have in the past where we're 50 to 51, which is pretty good. 33.9, which is not bad from 3. You want to be in the 37s and above. Especially with, and you got to always put context if you're shooting a ton of them. Obviously it's going to be down a little bit, but they go effective field goal percentage. So a little bit down there. Terrific from the free throw line, 80% as a club. So that's not an issue. Remember, we had to talk about that for whole episodes last year, and it was annoying. Great on the glass, +8, 40 to 32 on average. So that's a good number. Then scoring wise, terrific, 88.3 averaging per game, and then just under 70 defensively. So, I think it's been a great start for this club, 10 games in. We have St. Mary's is great. And then we have this UCLA game coming up. That's going to be a good chance for us to, get a quad one win and a team that's playing really well. It's going to be a grind out game, I think. We've kind of had their number the last 3 or 4 times. We've played each other like a ton.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of familiarity. There's a lot of chippiness too, I think.
Yeah, I think there'll probably be even more chippiness now since we're leaving.
Exactly. It's chippy, and so it'll be interesting. No, I'm talking about UCLA. But yes, the St. Mary's, it'll get chippy.
Right.
But yeah, UCLA,
right.
It'll get chippy.
Yeah.
Just because we've had some issues in the recent past with, guys yapping and then staff yapping and stuff like that. It's kind of fun to watch. So, still good games to come up, but I think UCLA game is going to be kind of paramount to try to get that one for a seeding line deal, down the road, assuming that we make the tournament. I always hate to do that because I think you probably will, but I'm one of those people that don't like to say stuff unless it's going to happen for sure. I don't like the jinx or just putting stuff out there. But yeah, I think overall this club is headed in the right direction. I don't think there's any glaring issues that can be solved or, that needs to happen to change how we're playing down the stretch within some of these games. I honestly don't think there's any like coaching adjustments. Honestly, I would say it too. Like if there's anything adjustment wise or like scheme wise that we didn't do, that's not right. I think sometimes, especially in a game like a UConn, you kind of just have guys that kind of just grab the ball and go make a play.
Right.
As messed up as it sounds, but that's part of what we lacked a little bit down the stretch. I talked about, Ryan missing that layup. He makes that a million times. And then Braden getting fouled. So then I'm trying to go devil's advocate. I'd be like, well, we did draw up a pretty good wide open layup. And then if the guy gets fouled, so you can't really talk about end of game because those things did go the right way. Just the result wasn't the right thing is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I think in theoretically we could easily be 9-1. 7-3 is not terrible. 9-1, 8-2, probably most likely either the West Virginia or the Kentucky one.
Yeah.
So I think this team is solid. I think right now, and I'm just going top of my head, guess I haven't deep dive in strength of schedule, KenPom, all that stuff. We're probably like a 3-4 seed. I know talking about March is, but like if it just makes sense to me. For us to get to that before 3 line, a 2 line, obviously, I think we'd have to probably beat St. Mary's 3 times and beat UCLA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just me guessing because college basketball is crazy now, but there's no dominant teams and right. You know what I mean? So that's just me kind of, hypothesizing where we'd be at, but I really like, where we're at for the most part. It's just some of these games just had some minor slip ups.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably go into it deeper when we get into the WCC season, but I mean, right now there are 7 teams, 6 teams minus us in the top 100 in the KenPom, and that's Santa Clara, Washington State, Oregon State, San Francisco.
Yeah, so there's a lot. You're really good point. Great data. There's a lot of good wins that are still not just St. Mary's. So that's a really good point. Like this WCC season is going to be important, and there will be resume type wins. And like I said, quad 2 ones are good wins. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like they really are. So that's a very good point. Like I'm not putting as much value as I should too, but like Washington State's. David Riley's done a good job. Yeah. I think everybody thought they were going to be shitty, and it's like, no, they're good. He's a good coach. And then San Francisco's good, and then St. Mary's as usual. And then Oregon State, you never know with just that quote-unquote big conference talent. You know what I mean? So it's not going to be a complete walkthrough that it has been in the years past. Not in a bad way, but some years it's like, oh my God, some of these teams are really bad. Yeah. Which is good. Yeah. It's good for the fan base. It's good for the league. It's good for us. So again, it'll give us a chance to maybe move up a line seating wise if we keep playing well. but also, if you look back, you're like, man, I wish we would have the Kentucky one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And stuff, or the UConn one, but it is what it is. And I like where this team's at, honestly. I'd say otherwise. It's just minor parts of the game that we just didn't do well. The start against UConn, and then second half, 0 for 9 from 3 against Kentucky, things like that. If we just clean those things up, we're probably 9-1.
Yeah.
Or 8-2. You know what I mean? So it's that's sports though, man. Ball bounces differently.
Definitely.
Sometimes it just doesn't go your way. What do we got? Any listener questions?
Someone asked.
The Perimeter will be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Definitely.
Sometimes it just doesn't go your way. What do we got? Any listener questions?
Someone asked, why can't Nolan Hickman bring the ball up once in a while to give a different look? When the jump shots aren't going in and we really don't have anyone that can score from the low post like Drew Timme used to. I like Ben Gregg, but it seems that he doesn't have his game evolved enough offensively whereby to be consistent, to be the go-to player. And I guess, right now we're running this offense through Nimhard, which is working well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But would it make sense to have different looks, like with Nolan bringing the ball up like last year? Or?
I think Nolan's better off the ball. I think Ryan, it's just a turnovers leading the country. He's averaging 10 a game. So, taking him off the ball depends on what somebody means by how many times a game. You know what I'm saying? Every once in a while, they come off a different look and a different action. I guess that would be okay. And it's not like Nolan hasn't played point guard. He played it his whole life, but he's more like a combo 2. Mm-hmm. So that question is I think I need more context, and the person's obviously not going to provide the context. And it's not me avoiding it, but it's every once in a while, does that mean 15 possessions a game, or does that mean 5?
Right.
Where you just run a special action for somebody else. Now, to counter that, guys that score in the low post, I think Graham Ike and Braden Huff score it.
Yeah.
They're not Drew Timme, but it's not you know what I mean? They score it at a pretty high clip. So I don't understand that part, to be fair. So I think it's a fair thought, but I don't know what a bunch or how much that means, and that's not me dodging it. But sometimes they pick Ryan up at 90 feet and Nolan brings it up. Yeah. So I guess I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. I think sometimes I hate the word hate, but the criticism for Nolan can be a little bit unfair, just because, he'll have, segments of games where he doesn't make a shot or whatever, and it's easy to nitpick that stuff. But also, to be fair, against UConn, he had no energy. So I get where people are frustrated with that. But overall, he's a pretty good basketball player, really good with the ball, good teammate, all those things. So I think sometimes it needs to be toned down half a click. But also the counter to that is at least we have a fan base that gives a shit. So I get it. If you're going to play at this university, you're going to hear some, criticism. And we have we have a soft media in regards to criticism, when we're in a big city or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So the media's, they're right. It's college kids, but it's it's pro zag, which it should be because we're good. But also, he just needs to have better energy to play better, I think. Yeah. In those things.
And these next 2 games coming up against Nicholls and Bucknell, what do you hope to see from the team?
That's a good point.
And just production or how they look in general?
So I think we need to get back to playing faster, and that's always something I talk about on my broadcast. So most keys to the game, I always say pace of play is like first one. It's just truth. When we play fast, we're way better. When Ryan and Caleb and Nolan are getting deep outlets and we're pushing the ball, we're just better.
Yeah.
Always have been. And it's better for our actions, better for our wave action, DHOs, all that stuff. So I want to see get back to that. Graham needs to string off some good ones. He played terrific against Kentucky. Had 28 and 11.
Yeah.
But he goes 3 points and was terrible. 0 rebounds this last game. So he needs to have a couple to feel good because he's got to play good down the stretch. He's got to play good against UCLA. So I like to see him and Braden have good inside presence games. And then just being back home.
Yeah.
And play in front of, I think the students are, I doubt it. No, actually, probably not. We never break. But just in front of your home crowd and start feeling good about yourself. So it's really not anything like scheme-wise or anything like that. It's just like get back to feeling good and make shots and swagger and all that stuff. Dusty needs to have a good one.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't play great against UConn, 1 for 5 or whatever I mentioned earlier. 0 for 3 from 3. He needs to see some go in. And obviously Nolan wasn't good. Yeah. So it'd be nice for him to see some go in, and because he had a terrific start of the season. He's just having a little lull. But he was really good at start. So that's part of sports, but it'd be nice for him to, see some go in and get some confidence, get some swagger back, because he's a good player. I don't care what anybody says. And he's a competent ball handler. He's a really good 3-point shooter. He's a competent 3-point shooter, good teammate, all those things. Yeah. So he just needs to get some confidence back and, bounce back. And again, I don't know if he was under the weather, and that's the truth. Like sometimes they don't tell you these things, and sometimes you don't need to, it's not your right to know. Right. Sometimes they just don't say anything so they don't give out information before a game. Yeah. He just looked low energy.
Yeah. There's a flu going around Spokane.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Travel, all those things. Yeah. So you never know. I'm just saying that just out of pure speculation. I have no inside information of that he was or wasn't. Right. But it just energy-wise, he didn't look right. So hopefully he feels better. But, yeah, just overall in these 2 games, get back feeling good in front of your crowds, front of your girlfriends, front of your family. Have fun.
Yeah, gear up for UCLA, right?
Yeah, and gear up for UCLA, it's awesome that they've made a run and they're playing good. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, good, there's another game that's good for both programs, and I think it's a fun rivalry. And we all know the history of beating it to death. Yeah. But, like, the modern rivalry is really good, too.
Definitely.
I mean, it's cool, and it's 2 programs that compete against each other, obviously on the court, but then, like, recruiting and all that stuff, it's a real thing. Yeah. So, yeah, I appreciate everybody listening. Thank you to our sponsors, McGillivray Environmental, Idaho Central Credit Union, and New Love Coffee. Please tune in next week.
Working this graveyard shift, I hate it. 6 in the morning, I'm off, I made it. When I get home, I'ma make this clear. First thing I'ma drink is a Rainier beer. I ain't no lush, shut up, hush. This is how I zone out. I'ma take this check, put it on me. I'm a much better boss than an employee. Just cause you got time, don't waste time. It's about time, feel the sunshine. You got time, but don't waste time. It's go time. Get up, get up, get down. The time's right now. Turn up, turn down, I don't even know how. Yes, sir, I'm on 100 now. Mess around and find out. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Yeah, I'm a much better boss than an employee. I'm an employee cause I go OD on a BEAT. I'm a young OG, been killing these raps.
The podcast intro song is Get Up by Jinx Universe. Listen to his music on Spotify and follow him on social media at I am Jinx Universe. Produced locally in Spokane, Washington at Spokecast.